Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. The commitment sweatshirt back on for this Nebraska Cornhuskers program as they land the commitment from three-star tight end Bear Tenny from the state of Utah, a player that I'm very familiar with as a Michigan fan. We were going after this kid hard on the recruiting trail as well. A couple things that I really like about Bear Tenny. One, it starts with this is a true tight end coming out of high school. In the era of high school recruiting where a lot of these quote unquote tight end prospects are pretty much just bigger bodied wide receivers that you have to put weight on. You have to teach how to play in line. You turn on the film of Bear Tenny. This is a guy that plays in line, knows how to block in line, and has the ideal frame for tight end as well. 6'5", 250 pounds. I mean, he's a box checker at that tight end position. And this is a spot and a position on this Nebraska offense that is going to be very important to Matt Rhule in the future of this program on the offensive side of the football. A lot of 12 personnel, using your tight ends as weapons in a lot of different ways. Really like this pickup, a guy that was coveted by a lot of other programs, offers from Michigan, A&M, Oregon, in-state program, Utah, Nebraska, with a very impressive win on the recruiting trail. Want to dive into the film, talk a little bit about what Bear Tenny brings to this Nebraska program before we get into it. And as always, just want to say thank you to you guys. As always, a shout out to the Nebraska fans. Y'all continue to show a ton of love, a ton of support to the fellas, whether we're talking spring ball, recruiting, transfer portal. Can't thank you guys enough for rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into Bear Tenny. And I guess it starts with, and I always like to talk about this first before we get into the film, is what's the athletic profile look like? And you see Matt Rhule covet athletes before football players in terms of, hey, give me the best athletes, and then I'll coach them up on the football field. Bear Tenny, from an athletic profile standpoint at that tight end position, he's a box checker, right? A guy that plays in line on the football field on Friday nights at the high school level. But when you talk about ideal frame for a tight end in this Nebraska offense, 6'5", 250 pounds. You make no mistake about it. You want your tight ends to be threats in the passing attack. That being said, you're not going to be able to play if you don't take care of business as a blocker from that tight end position as well. I think that's one of the criticisms of a guy like Thomas Fedone, a guy that, very athletic, can create separation, can be a threat in the passing attack, hasn't always blocked like you might want him to. A guy like Bear Tenny is going to come in and be kind of that dominant blocker in line that Nebraska looks for. Now, you get into the film, and a couple things that really stand out about Bear Tenny in the film is, one, he works the middle of the field extremely well. That's one of my favorite attributes about what he brings to the table. I mean, he'll split out wide. He'll line up as an H-back. He'll do a lot of different things, but I think at the end of the day, what excites you the most is how he can work from inline and then work that middle of the field. This is a guy that has a massive catch radius. He is a huge presence in that middle of the field, and I just think he has a really good feel for working that portion of the field as well. He's good after the catch as well. He's not necessarily the best athlete in space, but he is a load to bring down when he has the ball in his hands. Knows how to create separation. Again, this is another really good rep. You talk about tight ends and what makes tight ends special. One, can you be a big functional athlete? That's probably the first thing that you look for. But at that tight end position, can you use your big frame to go make plays with the football in the air? You run this play back, and this is a guy that he is comfortable using that 6'5", 250-pound frame to really go make plays on the football. And again, so many different ways. You see him kind of getting used as another inline tight end where work in the middle of the field, really, really good after the catch. Has some nice wheels for someone that is 250 pounds, some nice contact balance. He's a rumbler, and I think I really like that about his game as well. A lot of different ways he can get involved. I think the next play you're going to see is kind of used as an H-back, as a lead blocker. And again, we said this, 250 pounds, you're not playing for Nebraska if you can't get it done blocking at the second level. Eats that guy up, puts him in the dirt. You look at the boxes you want to see check specifically, you see this, just body control, using his size. Red zone target, that's probably another thing worth mentioning for Bear Tenny. He's a guy that Nebraska was brutal in the red zone last year. I think partially didn't have that big-bodied red zone target. Bear Tenny with the 6'5" radius, when those throwing windows kind of get condensed in the red zone, I think Bear Tenny can be an elite weapon in the red zone as well. And again, I just love seeing tight ends get used as inline guys. Like, it's so rare to see at the high school level, and he's one of those guys that does that. I think this is a really good pickup. You take a look at what Nebraska's doing on the recruiting trail, and we're going to break this down a little bit later. Nebraska's having a massive recruiting weekend for the spring game. And I love what they do, always making that spring game one of their biggest recruiting weekends, because it's one of the better environments for a spring football game than anywhere in the country, right? Kids can go to Michigan or go to Alabama, go to Georgia. You're not going to find a better spring game atmosphere than in Lincoln, Nebraska during that spring portion. And getting as many kids as you can on campus, that's absolutely massive. And you take a look at what Nebraska's doing in this class. One, dominating the state of Nebraska. You have a lot of speed with guys like Jackson Carpenter, Bryson Hayes, two of the faster players in this 2025 cycle. Then you look at a guy like Tyson Terry, who got a little Nash Hutmaker in him, right? This is a guy that's an elite wrestler as well. We know how that's played out for Big Nash on the football field. You see Nebraska making sure they clean up their backyard first, getting those top guys from the state of Nebraska coming to their program, and now they're going out to Utah, going out to Kansas, going nationally. And we know this Nebraska program, they're hosting multiple guys from Florida this weekend. They are going to recruit nationally, get it done all over the country. Really good start in terms of just making sure you clean up your home backyard first. Now we're going out, landing some top guys across the country. Fired up about Bear Tenny. Perfect fit for this Nebraska offense. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. Again, if y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.